Hey, I got a quick message for you from HubSpot. There's a big reason why more than 300 of last year's unicorn startups use HubSpot. And it's because no software keeps you better connected with your teams or your customers, so you can crush all your goals. HubSpot Sales Hub brings you that power in an easy-to-use platform with 360-degree deal management and real-time reporting. You get accurate windows into every inch of your business. And with AI-powered tools like ChatSpot, you'll have a dedicated assistant that knows your business inside and out. So trade cold calls for warm leads and get on track for your best Q1 yet. Check out HubSpot Sales Hub at hubspot.com/sales. Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, January 29th. I'm John Weigell here with Sara Friedman, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. We all know about holograms of Michael Jackson or Tupac putting on concerts, but now we could see the likes of Stephen Hawking or Coco Chanel at the head of a classroom. Loughborough University in the UK started experimenting with hologram lecturers for their students. But how is this possible, and what are the effects so far, and are we seeing a new trend in education take shape? We'll get into that and much more, but first let's give you the hits and headlines today across business and tech. Kicking off with some AI news, Geroge Carlin's estate is suing the creators of a video supposedly made with an AI model trained on his work without permission. Carlin's daughter, Kelly Carlin, called it, quote, a poorly executed facsimile cobbled together by unscrupulous individuals. She has a much better vocabulary than I do. Staying with that same current, Netflix made a notable change to its annual SEC report. It added generative AI to the list of risk factors, saying AI could shake up the competition and leave the streaming service more vulnerable to copyright infringement. I think it's safe to say that we'll be seeing a lot more AI regulation talks this year, given how multi-million-dollar companies and estates and, Taylor Swift are starting to feel the pressure. Next up, Mackenzie Scott, early Amazon employee and ex-wife of founder Jeff Bezos, sold $65.3 million of her Amazon shares last year, and offloading worth about $10 billion, a little over that. That's represented by only about 25% of the philanthropist's remaining stake. Speaking of, Jeff Bezos' old house in Bellevue, Washington, is now for sale at $2.3 million. It's in this home garage that he founded Amazon as an online bookseller in 1994. Last few things, getting into some travel news. Royal Caribbean's Icon of the Seas, which is the largest cruise ship in the world at 1,200 feet long and 250.8 thousand gross tons, set sail over the weekend from Miami. That's a big boat. And finally, Virgin Galactic safely completed its sixth space tourism mission. Friday's launch was the first time there was no astronaut chaperone on board. Paying customers took up all 4 of the cabin seats available. Our big story today focuses on a fascinating use for hologram technology, which is teaching university students. Hologram lecturers are currently being tested at Loughborough University in the UK with exciting results in terms of keeping students' attention and adding some novelty to the classroom. So, Sara, tell me some more about this.
Yeah, so the school is using hologram boxes made by a company called Proto, and it literally beams lecturers in from anywhere in the world, and speakers can record themselves talking, even using just their smartphones or a kit from the company, and they will appear in the classroom in real time, life-size 3D in front of students. It's very cool. I mean, the future is here.
The future is here. Yeah, that's fascinating. And also, I'm guessing one of the other ideas behind this is that it doesn't only project people who are alive to the classroom, but it can also project, I guess, reanimated holograms of people who have long gone.
Yes. So that is one of the company's main missions, actually, is to essentially bring people back from the dead. They can pair the visuals, which we have from photos and videos in certain cases, and then train AI on textbooks or writings from famous professors. And then students can essentially ask, Albert Einstein or whoever wants to visit class questions in real time, theoretically, and the AI would be trained on their own work. So this could get really weird very quickly, but it's also a kind of a fascinating learning tool rather than just reading about historical figures. You could talk to them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it also seems like this has some really interesting implications for education and also sustainability and being able to, prevent a lot of travel from place to place. And I'm sure the university is looking into that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the main perks of this tech. I mean, for a lecturer to fly all the way to the UK, they have scientists coming in from MIT, which is in Cambridge, Massachusetts. It's a lot of, emissions from those flights. It's a lot of money for the school, and higher ed is not notoriously ready to be paying for professors to fly across the world. So this would be a great sustainability tool. And it's also a really effective teaching tool, especially for certain types of lessons. If you're looking at 3D equipment or something that you really need to see in real life, this could be much more effective than just watching a Zoom call projected onto a whiteboard, which is kind of what's happening at higher ed institutions right now.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that comparison comes to mind really quickly about, why couldn't you just do a Zoom call? But I don't know, this seems a lot more, you get the full body image, you get kind of the product that they're working on. If it's engineering, it's probably going to be a lot more helpful to see that real time.
Yeah, I think that this is much more engaging. And I was watching the videos of this technology. It really looks like the people are in the room with you. So I think this could possibly be the solve for freshmen falling asleep in a lecture hall, because it's just really hard to pay attention with a kind of a flat projection on a screen. And this feels like these really interesting lecturers are actually in the room with you.
Mm. And you mentioned this company Proto that is working on this. They're LA based. What history do they have in the hologram space, and what are they exactly looking to do with this technology in the future?
Yeah, I mean, this has a lot of very cool applications, and certainly it's not just limited to education. They work with companies like IBM and other big corporate companies, again, to just reduce travel needs. This kind of allows you to be in any conference room anywhere around the world. There's so many use cases for that with day-to-day business. And they also work with companies like H&M to do interactive product displays. But yeah, this has a lot of really exciting applications. One that I thought was so interesting was even for museums, you can essentially share a work of art, and rather than being able to see the sculpture, you would see it in this hologram box, because you'd be looking at an image from across the world. So it's kind of limitless. It's very cool. And they're also planning to make a smaller tabletop version. So who knows, maybe one day we'll all have one in our house, and this is how we'll see our relatives.
Yeah, I saw that in the main article about the smaller version, and it just seems so funny to me, because the smaller version, they said it was going to be priced at about $1,000, and it's kind of akin to, they said, Wonka Vision, where you have just like a little, like if you want to like meet Coco Chanel, you have like a little like tiny Coco Chanel in your living room.
Yeah, it's
pretty great.
It's pretty wild. But I guess if you're having a meeting with your boss, it's way less intimidating if they're, a foot tall. So that may be good.
Very true. Very true. Maybe one day we could do this podcast standing in front of each other as holograms, perhaps.
Yes. I think it's not that far off, apparently.
No. All right. And that'll do it for us today. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot podcast network. Our editor today is Ezra Trupiano, and our executive producer is Darren Clarke. We've got a lot more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go get yourself signed up at thehustle.co/email, and we will see you tomorrow. All right, everybody. I've been listening to this podcast lately. It's fantastic. It's called DTC Pod, hosted by Ramon Barrios and Blaine Bolus. It's brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, which is the audio destination for business professionals. DTC Pod is a podcast about all things direct to consumer, as it says in the title. Ramon and Blaine cover everything from starting, growing, and optimizing e-commerce stores and DTC or D2C brands. They have a lot of great conversations with founders, marketers, platforms, creators, and marketing and growth agencies to cover all these topics like brand building, social media, influencer marketing, website conversion, paid media, Facebook ads, consumer trends, email marketing, and much, much more, if you could even believe it. If you're interested in stories behind your favorite consumer brands, this podcast is tailor-made for you. Just the other day, I was listening to an episode and their guest was Mikey Taylor. Mikey started as a professional skateboarder and flipped his life into becoming a huge entrepreneur, dealing in real estate, owning his own brewing company, and also owning a skateboard company called Sovereign Skateboards. This guy really flipped his life into something insane, and it's so cool to listen to how he did it every single step of the way. Definitely go check that episode out. It's really, really inspiring. And you can listen to DTC Pod wherever you get your podcasts.